The Flyin Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flyin Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club, you play for the fans.
Jersey swap, car of the week, trivia question of the week. Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin Lion podcast. Thanks for joining us for this episode. It's going to be a fun one. FC Cincinnati have now won 4 matches in a row. We're stacking the wins. Just call us WIncinnati. I love it. Sam, how we doing tonight?
Doing good, feeling good, riding off of 4, right? I mean, we saw something we haven't seen since last year, so really hyped to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, we're I think second now in the East that we'll talk about. Everything's kind of looking good, Ryan. We're getting healthier. We did have, somebody else take a knock, but I think, like you had said, during this stretch of winnable games, we're winning the games that we should, even on the road.
Yeah, I mean, away wins, like we've talked about, is huge. And just in the run of form that we've had, getting guys back, being consistent, and winning the ugly matches, because again, wins are wins. So we'll recap the Chicago Fire away game, match day number 9. Second half of the episode, we do have some unfortunate news to share, and kind of we'll give our thoughts on the Aaron Bupenza passing, and then we'll talk a little bit about FC Cincinnati 2's game, and then we did have a GA Cup update for you guys, and then we'll do a match day number 10 preview for a Sporting Kansas City game that we have at home coming up on the weekend, another day game, Sam. So we'll get to that. But first part of the episode, like I mentioned, match day number 9, Chicago Fire away, a place where historically, like, we've done pretty well. We've only lost, I think, 1 time, and we had won the last 4 matches. So with a 3-2 win in this one, it puts us at 6-2-1 overall. It was interesting, Sam, kind of looking at who's the manager for Chicago Fire. We talked about it in our preview, but with Greg Berhalter, the former U.S. men's national team coach there, the last time we faced him was in a loss in the Open Cup that we had to the Crew in 2017. But I will always remember the fact that we did beat them in the Open Cup for our big run. I believe was that 27? Was it 2016, 2017?
2017, we beat them.
Oh, okay. So you're just saying in loss, so meaning Greg lost to us and then had to go join the U.S. because he couldn't beat us. And then he came back and he got beat again. So that's
great agenda reading. Yeah,
just wanted to spin off a narrative there, but
yeah, exactly.
No,
keeping people on their toes.
That's right, absolutely. So leading up to this one, we had talked about it, all the build up. Seeing a different Chicago Fire team, maybe slightly different than what we had seen in years past, but
bigger star power.
Yeah, there's a lot of FC Cincinnati supporters in this one. I think it was really cool to see a lot of guys, I think, that are like Roman, for example, locals, to that area, so have maybe a little bit more to play for in that sense. But was happy to see the lineup that we had. A little bit of some surprises. I think this kind of rolls out even, how many different lineups that we've had. I think we have to go find that stat now. Like, it was very similar to last year. There's not been like one consistent lineup, at least in MLS play that I can think of. But we did have Roman in goal. We had Engel. We had Hagelin on the left, which we talked about last time. Sam had called it. He said, "Hey, what do you think about Hagelin on the left?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And Pat said, "Let's do it." So they put Hagelin there. They have Miazga in the middle, and he ends up being the captain in this one. It was good to see him back starting. Miles Robinson, you had Yedlin, Buka, Anunga, Santos. Evander was back, so that was nice to see, and then Denke. So what were your initial thoughts looking at lineup-wise? It's an hour before kickoff, and you see it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously, like we saw it the rest of the game, but my initial reaction was seeing Miazga start. I was thinking, okay, it seems like they're going to do this whole process like they did for Hagelin, right? They're going to start him, right? Probably play 45, and then Hagelin will come into the middle, right? Because I know we had talked about, will Hagelin start, right? On the left side, you'd rather have, a Hedebe or probably like a Gilberto Flores, right? A little bit more athletic on that left side. But once again, maybe, like we saw in this match, Miazga comes out at 45, Hagelin, rotates into the middle. So I think that's kind of the role that they were trying to go there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even Pat had put in his pregame conference just that, like, hey, Miazga is probably going to only be able to play 45. Is it on the flip side, or do you want him from the start? And I think, you don't want him to have to come in a situational setting where, either you're down or you're up or whatever it is. If you just
Yeah.
put him out there right away, it's a blank,
Well, yeah, he
slate.
was saying
And
he wanted him to go through the warm up and everything,
100%.
right?
And
Yeah.
he's staying warm through that. You're not kind of off to the side and, trying to fit it into that situation. So that makes sense to me. I was a little surprised by the Hagelin part there, but Nick's had a pretty hot run and good for him, honestly, for winning that spot. Knowing that Miazga was going to probably sub off, like you're going to see Flores for 45. He's been playing a lot of minutes too for a young guy.
Yep.
You don't want to risk, getting injuries and stuff like that too. We've seen that with several different players. So, kind of smart in a way to at least get him some minutes there. And then again, Evander, just his impact, up front. The big person that kind of we were surprised by was the Luca Orshano deal. So it comes out, he's on the bench. He had a foot injury. I'm going to say foot injury. Although it's kind of funny. Shout out to my dad for texting me about this. You see foot injury kind of in the report, but then you see him kind of warming up on the sideline, Sam, and he's got his fingers taped. So, and I know that a lot of these guys, like Barrial used to like tape his thumb up. A lot of them do that to prevent like when they fall, like from injuring. But it was interesting to see that, his hand was actually taped up and he didn't seem to be really phased when he comes in as a sub. So a little bit interesting there. Is there some sort of message? Like Luca hasn't had the greatest start. Everyone knows that. He probably knows that. And so is there a little bit of a, hey, let's see what Sergio can do, in the first half. So we'll get to kind of that part of things. But Sam, what were your initial thoughts, let's say first 10 minutes of the game, and how we came out compared to last match?
Yeah, I thought against Chicago that they came out on the front foot. They had a couple chances early, and I think one of the chances the crowd obviously went crazy because it was wrong angle, but it hits the side netting, right? And they're trying to rack up these chances. They've got, like I said, 2 or 3 chances right off the bat that you're like, okay, like Chicago came to play, especially on the attacking side. But luckily, we have something that turns it around real quick as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting because you come off of a 0-0 game, them playing at home in front of the largest crowd, for soccer at Soldier Field. They feel good about, hey, we held Miami to no goals. So they come out a little bit hot. Obviously we have Miazga in there trying to find his footing, a couple different pieces up top that haven't really played a ton together. So you're kind of trying to figure that out on the road. And then this moment comes in the 9th minute. And I believe it was led on the left side by Andrew Gutman, a former FC Cincinnati player, is taking it into the box. He tries to backheel a ball that gets deflected to the top of the box. It's probably going to fall to the Fire player to be able to shoot within a touch. Would you agree?
Yeah, at least that, or be able to like create something within that space.
There was definitely space, and the ref, unfortunately or fortunately, backs into the player and trips him. Leads to a huge break for us. I think the ball comes out to Santos, who whips it around. Santos ends up getting an assist on this play. It's got to be the furthest out assist I've ever seen in MLS play. But he gets the assist nonetheless. But Evander runs this ball 50 yards down, cuts onto his right foot. The guy gets a foot out to go and block his shot. It just deflects right over Brady. Like it's a nightmare fuel for them in all ways. But I'm not going to lie, as Evander's running with the ball, I'm going, please score, please. Like, how funny would this be? And then it goes in, and you're like, turn the
He
tides.
didn't blow the whistle. Yeah,
yeah, like momentum is now with the orange and blue. So that was cool to see. But, I mean, Sam, in this situation, does your thought immediately go to, like, all right, now how are we going to get screwed over? Later on,
I think everybody.
What's a makeup call going to come to here?
Yeah, I think everybody's thinking that, right? Everybody's like, okay, all right, like they're gonna, bring it back or VAR, or like something's gonna happen here,
or
like,
review it. But I even mean like later on in the match, like is the ref going to look at it and say like, Well, man, like,
I mean,
we
some
kind of
people,
gave him that.
I know some people would probably say that about the PK, later on in the game,
Sure.
possibly, right? As like that coming back. But yeah, this ninth minute goal, obviously Evander takes it from midfield. And once again, Ryan, we see a shot outside the 18, right? Like
True.
Evander, he's back in and straight away, he's like, hey, I'm going to pick up where I left off outside the 18. And so
Is his FIFA rating like shot from distance, like
oh, it's
off the
got to be up
charts?
there. It's got to be up
It's
there.
got to be
Like,
off the charts.
I think the funniest thing in this is the keeper looks like he just glitches. Like he like goes back and forth like a bunch of times. Like, do I go for it? Is it gonna hit? Like what? And then it obviously deflects it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great moment. Love to see Evander get on the score sheet again. Like, he just comes in and puts in goals from outside the 18. Like you said, I mean, it was great. From that moment on, I feel like Chicago's trying to get back into the game.
Yeah.
They really pushed the ball on their left side, attacking down through Jonathan Bamba. I felt like him and Kuipers was the game plan. Get it through, Rodriguez in the middle, get it whipped out wide. They did a nice job in the 31st minute. Miazga has to come all the way into our attacking side to man mark. I believe it was one of the midfielders, or no, it was actually Bamba. It was Bamba comes to get the ball, and I think Yedlin's either pushed up or out wide. He's man marking Bamba, and Bamba just turns.
It was Miles. It was Miles.
Miles, yeah, Miles did, but I'm saying Yedlin was out wide, so
No,
Miles is
yeah,
one-on-one.
yeah.
So Miles is one-on-one, he gets turned, and we're on the flat foot. I think if you're Pat Noonan, it makes sense for me, putting Miazga in the center because maybe there's less ground that he has to necessarily cover. If you see Robinson, Hagelin has to cover that channel. If Miazga's in the middle, like he's got a little bit more help. Well, you lose Miles, to this challenge way on the other side of the pitch. And then you kind of are on this counter where Bamba plays this nice ball through to Kuipers. And Sam, would you agree that, I mean, healthy Matt Miazga tracks this ball down? I think there's just a little bit of a step off still from him, which Matt looked good. I wouldn't say he was all the way there yet. And his final sprint speed, he didn't look quite comfortable getting to close down the ball, where we see like last week, it's the same situation. And what did you see with Miles Robinson? Hit 22 miles an hour and cut off, Benteke. So it almost was a parallel to that. He didn't close off. And Roman comes out. It was one of those moments where I think he was trying to block a shot coming, to the far post. He doesn't block his front post enough, and he just slots it by. Could he have done better? Is my question.
I mean, you can kind of see like on his slide, right? He kind of leaves his right arm behind. Like you said, he doesn't really come out wide and spread, which once again, maybe, we're not keepers, right? So maybe that's just really awkward to be able to like put two arms out and have your legs, contorted. So I can imagine it was a tough play. It was a good finish. And we saw a similar finish on the other side of the goalie box there, later on in the game. But once again, like you had said, when is that going to come back and bite us? And, I don't really think that it bites us, right? I think it's just a good goal by Chicago.
Yeah, I was just looking up here. That's Kuiper's 6th goal of the season. So, I mean, he's been on a hot run to start the season.
Bamba's 5th assist. I believe it's like
I
second
think
in
you're
MLS.
right. So, I mean, that was the game plan for them. And to isolate center backs, I think I even heard the broadcasters talk about it. Isolate the center backs to create space behind, and I think Kuipers does well with that. In this moment, if you're looking at the defense, it's like, does a 100% Miazga get to it? Probably. It's still, like you said, it's well taken, and it's 1-1 at that point. So you're thinking, all right, we're going to go to half tied. That's the way that it's been this year. It's just one goal was nice, but I don't know if we can even get two in the first half. In the 42nd minute comes around, and I will give FC props on this. The last two games have had a very nice coordinated press. I mean, would you agree? At least in the first
absolutely.
half.
I would say, 2
First
or 3.
half.
Yeah.
First half presses, phenomenal. Now, can we do that sustainably throughout the game? That's what's yet to be seen. But I think this goal that comes in the 42nd minute to take us 2-1 up comes off of a nice little press moment. The ball is out. We have a throw in. I don't think Santos is really committed to getting the ball.
Yeah.
But a key moment in this is the ball falls to the feet of a substituted defender that comes in. The center back, Rogers, comes in for Tehran, an experienced center back. and Rogers is on the ball and gives it up to Santos, who just nicely, honestly, for going and attacking that play. I've seen a lot of guys in this moment where they dribble it into the box and they try to shoot from an impossible angle. So honestly, props to him for lifting his head, seeing Denke. Denke opens his hips, and I mean, how fast was that ball whipped into the back corner?
That was what we were looking for earlier in the season, right? When Denke had a shot just like that in front of goal and he opened his hips, but he didn't like put power behind it, right? He let it ricochet off the foot. This time you could see he timed it right and it was just like a precision pass, like right into the bottom right corner.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great finish. I think it comes back to our conversation last week about just instinct and just reaction.
Yeah,
The ball
absolutely.
falls to his foot, he hits it with his right hand. I mean, that's what a striker wants. And honestly, I'm thinking in that moment, I texted you, this is what happens when you get the ball in dangerous positions to Denke.
hmm
And so we saw it later on in the game again where he had another chance. Get him in dangerous positions in the box, and he's going to finish those. Everyone was freaking out. We talked about it last week. He found his goal today, so we're all good, or in this game, I should say. But yeah, in this goal, we go up 2-1. First time we've seen 2 goals in the first half, Sam, since September of 2024 against
An
Minnesota.
anomaly.
You shout out to you. You had that one before I saw anyone else have it. So, but we want to give props where it's due. Prior to the game, the starting 11 holds up the Aaron Bupenza jersey. R.I.P. to him. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But in Denke's tribute after he scores, he raises the shirt, and we get another tribute to him. So for him to kind of understand the moment and a former player, and to understand like a lot of his teammates were close with him too. So really special and nice for him to do that. You see, I think Denny Bouanga does it for LAFC, who was
Yeah.
teammates with Bupenza for Gabon. So that was also a nice little tribute there. So we go into half, Sam, and we're up 2-1. And you're feeling pretty good on the road. Like maybe you don't have the best run of play overall, but you feel good the fact that you have a lead. I felt like, in a way it was Miazga's time, and I want to see Flores now come in, especially with the lead, if Miazga's not 100% yet. So 55th minute, Sam, what did you see in this situation? FC's on the attack early on in the half, but we
Yeah, so
almost get another
at
goal.
that point, I believe Santos had come out for an injury. So unfortunately he was out at that point, and so Orishano comes in for him in the second half, and we see Orishano. I think they reclaim possession in the midfield. I want to say Anunga is able to get the ball there for him, and Orishano's pressing, and he finds Evander on the right side there, and Evander's able to kind of put it across goal. I mean, it was obviously like a low cross. And once again, our guy Rogers, right? This brand new center back who's coming to the game, almost, he puts it off the crossbar, right? Good save by him as far as, because I believe it deflected. And so he saved it, kicking it up. But when he kicks it up, it hits off the crossbar and out. So it was almost another, goal for us. Would have technically been an own goal, but one of those situations where it's like, what are you gonna do? But yeah, it was just another chance for us. Another, honestly, another spot Evander was going to be in a couple, minutes later.
Yeah, I mean, it almost comes down to like the situation Kubo had earlier on in the season against Toronto. He has a goal that's called back for offside, and then he sees it like 5 minutes later, the same exact position. In this one, Evander, 55th, has a ball that's played through, and he does the same thing. 71st minute, same exact thing. Once again, like there's this slotted ball through to Evander. Nice ball by Orshano. Evander smartly drives that ball
Yeah.
around with his first touch to kind of cut off the defender, puts his body in the way so the guy would have to foul him.
Yeah,
And
either a
PK.
foul or he's doing something with it.
So instincts by Evander, amazing. And he's down in an almost impossible angle, somehow slots it through the keeper's legs. There's maybe a deflection. That's not an own goal, though. I mean, there's just a
No.
little deflection there. They were talking about how much, like, oh man, that maybe is an own goal or not. It's like, there's no way.
No.
But we go up 3-1, and you're feeling really good. Like, I felt like a little bit in the second half here and there, you saw shades from the DC game where it was hard to hold possession and establish things, but a nice boost to have Orishano come in and to kind of create They're still a little bit off, Sam, with him and with Denke. A couple passes where they thought each other were in different spots. Denke was a little bit off on some of his passes there too. So cleaning that up, but I mean, you're not going to be mad. I mean, it was 3-1 at that point. You're feeling pretty good on the road, especially with that score line. But it's FC Cincinnati, Sam. There's always
gotta make it dramatic.
The drama. We love the 1-goal games.
We do.
That's what we live for, apparently. So 85th minute, I felt like this is on me. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take the heat on it. I texted you and I said Evander and Miles for team of the match day. And no joke, like 2 minutes later, Robinson goes, I think in a ball where it's kind of bounced around.
Well, he makes a good play. He does.
He makes the initial good play on it.
Yeah.
But then on the deflection through, he catches his leg. I think it is a PK. The guy's running at full speed. Any sort of contact he's going to feel, he's going to go down.
Yeah, I think the argue for no PK, if anybody wants to make it, would be he hardly has possession, right? Like he makes one kick, right? It's almost like it's not a shot, but it's like an extended, dribble, and he just, he catches him. So it is what it is, and they call it a PK because it's one of those things, Ryan. Are you going to call it a charge or are you going to call it a blocking foul, right?
Yeah, it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
So then, you get the PK, which, I'm thinking like, all right, Roman's going to do something amazing again. He's at home technically, in Chicago. He's going to show up. But Gutierrez has a nice finish, off to his left. I think there was some sort of chatter about like somebody had kind of known which way that he
they were talking pre-match. Gutierrez had gone to Celentano's left already twice this year or something, or
had for PKs before, not necessarily the Romans. But yeah, he goes and puts it in, so it's 3-2, and you're like, oh man, here we go. Let's just hold on. But we pull it out, and I think the last several minutes, the last 10 minutes for me were very nervy. A lot of clearances.
A lot of chances where we're going down and we're in their box, and we're just giving them the ball back right away.
We talked
and then
about it last
counter. And
podcast. Was like, do we need to be better about killing off the game?
Go to the corner.
Yeah, yeah. And in this one, like I felt like they could have done a little bit better of a job, but overall, you get the win.
Yep, win's a win.
3-2 win puts us second in the East. Technically, tied for first on goal differential. We're second, third in Supporters Shield standings now. So that's a good feeling. We built over the past 4 weeks a nice kind of sustainable win streak here to push us up there. 4 wins in a row. It feels like every year around this time, like we said, we go on this run. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it going. Now 5-1-1 all time. At the Chicago Fire. So the most wins that FC Cincinnati has had on the road against any MLS opponent.
Ryan, they're talking about, the Bengals going into a deal with the Bears up there. I mean, FC Cincinnati already owns Soldier Field, so
there you go. We do own Soldier Field, man. Yeah, no, it was great. And again, like just the support that was there too. I'm sure the players could feel it. But we talked about 1-goal games, Sam. 33-8 now in MLS matches decided by 1 goal since the start of 2023. We've I don't know if we thrive or we do well in that moment. Let's just say the record shows that. I don't know if I love that, but again, we're pulling out the wins in those situations.
3 points. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like if you look at the Reds, I think the Reds is like exact opposite for what their record looks like in 1 run games.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see Evander again go for another brace. He's had 2 braces now this year, or 2-goal games. He's now second in the MLS in goals in that Golden Boot race with 6. And he's scored in 3 straight matches, Sam. We had seen all the free kick stuff before. He kind of gets more like in the run of play goals. Denke gets his in the run of play goal. So you're feeling pretty good about that. I had predicted that we'd have more like set piece goals, if you remember me talking about that in the rundown. But hey, man, I'll take it any way we can get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, his play had been great. I think, Sergio Santos also had his first multi-assist game for FC Cincinnati this season, and the first of his FC career. So that was cool to see him be able to create a little bit.
Well, and shout out to him. Do you want to just
Yeah.
touch on that? Like, I felt like in the first half, like he did solid at press and at connecting. I think an underrated part of this was you see the lineup come out and you see Santos up there, and they list him as like a dueling 10, with
Yeah.
Evander. But I think he takes some of the heat off of Denke.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And we hadn't seen two strikers in where it kind of draws another defender and it
Well,
leaves Denke to
it's the
find that
speed. It's
space.
the speed up there, right? And the
Right.
pressure that he can create, whether he's on or off the ball. It's crucial. And like you said, it helps Danke be able to, get into those pockets a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think that's been an emphasis for them in the attack is to kind of unlock him and find him in those good positions, which they did better at.
Yep.
But to stretch the field, yeah, that's a great point, especially with Santos and getting behind the line. But with this game, Sam, Evander became the fourth fastest in the MLS history to 30 goals and 25 assists. I think this guy's just going to go on a tear. Like if you look at his 7 total now goals. I think in all competitions, like I think last year he had like 15, I want to say over the full course of the season. So pretty cool to see. And now third time this season that he's been on Team of the Match Day, which has
3
got
out
to
of
be up
7
there for
games,
players, right? Don't
What'd
you
you say?
think?
Yeah.
I would think that has to put him up at the top for most amount of appearances in Team of the Match Day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's at least probably 4 or 5 match days straight with an FC player, right? Or at least 4.
Oh, it's 5 now because even
5.
in the
Yeah.
Atlanta game we did
There we go.
week by week, man. That's what you want to see. You want in different people,
Oh yeah,
different
absolutely. Yeah.
contributors every single
Different
time.
people stepping up. I mean, you got Dotto last week. Like they could come out of nowhere easily.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. And then a couple defenders before should have had probably Hagelin in the week before too.
Could have had Robinson if he didn't have the PK.
If he didn't have the PK, probably. Yeah, I mean, Miles was like playing his butt off.
He
in this
was.
game. Like
Yeah.
for everyone watch up until the PK happens, of course. But he was covering ground, everywhere. I've been very impressed by his recoveries and what he's done there. I think even when Miazga comes out, correct me if I'm wrong, Miazga comes out and I think he takes the armband for the second half.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's been kind of cool to see too. And in the locker room, like you have all these veterans, like who is like the set leader or like, okay, one guy's the captain, but who's doing the pregame talk? Like you see Hagelin do a lot of it to get him
Yeah,
pumped up.
you see a different mix. It depends on the
Miles
game.
sometimes, like there's
Yedlin.
different people, but it's
Yeah.
great. I mean, we talked about it, I think, in preseason. How many different guys have been captains on different teams that they've been on?
Mm-hmm.
We've had Obi before, Yedlin before, Miazga, Robinson, Hagelin could be, Salentano, like there's be a lot of guys.
Salentano's
Maybe
a
not
stretch.
Roman.
Yeah, Salentano's a stretch. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
we've got all those guys, like you said, and I mean the Chicago game I think encapsulates that, right? Another 1-goal win. We're able to get out of there, no problem. Ryan, you have anything else to touch on with this game?
no, I think it's a good wrap.
Good wrap, good wrap. Well, we've got Trivia of the Week coming up for you guys, presented by Goals TV. We're gonna try and stump Ryan with this one this week. He's gotten off to a hot start this year with the trivia, so wanted to make it a little bit more difficult for him. So with his goal, or 2 goals in this game, Evander now has 7 goal contributions in 7 MLS matches for FC Cincinnati this year, and obviously has hopes for MVP this year. So how many goal contributions did Lucho Acosta have in his first 7 MLS matches of his MVP season?
I'm gonna go with 4. I'm gonna go with 4. I feel
4?
like 2023 he had a slower start, but I'm gonna lock in 4.
Do you want to divide it at all, or is 4 good for you?
3 goals, 1 assist.
All right. We'll call it 4 total, and we'll see what the answer is on the other side.
Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our 2025 sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
Oh, dude, Peak Cocktails, I absolutely love it. I am so excited to have them as a partner. Ryan, I am sipping right now on the Blood Orange Spritz. It is absolutely amazing. If you're that type of person that wants something subtle, right? Little ginger flavor. This is the one for you. A little bit of a recipe, promotes exercise recovery, enhances the relaxation a little bit. What are you sipping on over there?
Yeah, I got the passion fruit margarita. It kind of fits my dad bod life that I got going on right now. I'm trying to be a little bit more health conscious and have that lifestyle. But yeah, I could also sip it on the beach, which is nice about it. I mean, you can have that versatility. If you just want it as a nice sip, or if you want it as like a post recovery drink, like this is what Peak is. I mean, we love it. We adore some. I've been following Peak for what, a couple of years now. But yeah, again, go check out Peak Cocktails. We love them. Next time you're looking for, like we said, any of what we had described, post-workout drink, just a little pick-me-up. If you're drinking on the beach there as the summer's coming up here, go check them out. www.peakcocktails.com and use the code FlyinLion at your checkout, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Sam, enjoy that drink. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again for joining us tonight, talking about the fourth win in a row for FC Cincinnati. Second part of this episode, we'll do our jersey swaps of the week, our cards of the week, and touch on some other related FC Cincinnati news. It's a positive week, Sam. I think we've kind of established that when we win, we always do the jersey swaps first. It kind of has just become a trend that we don't even like talk about, but
positivity, man. Yeah.
But the jersey swap for this week, Sam, who'd you got?
Yeah, jersey swap for me is going to be Santos. The last three matches, I think we talked about, his form has been great, whether coming off the bench or starting. In this match, you see him have 2 assists. And Ryan, actually, I did some research. This is the most assists in a match in his MLS career, which, he had 2. So I thought that was crazy. But he's been using his speed to apply the pressure either at the beginning of games or, like we said, coming in the second half. And then, we saw him get injured at the end of this game. Hopefully he's okay. But definitely saw a good showing. I think it was like 53 minutes out of him. So pretty solid outing for Santos.
Yeah, I mean, for all the crap that sometimes we'll give him, but yeah, he's earning his million, right? So 2 assists in this game. Let's be honest. Like I said earlier, it's probably 1, but it counts for 2 on his pass there to Evander.
I wonder. So like I know in basketball, right? Like there's either like a certain amount of seconds or a certain amount of dribbles that a person
I don't know how they
takes,
quantify
right?
that. Like, I would imagine it has to be on like the attacking side of the field.
Can you take it from like pass it to a guy like from one end line to the other?
Well,
and
the
him
keeper
score, be like, hey, that
sometimes
was an
will get it.
assist?
The keeper sometimes will get the assist for the long punts and stuff. So
yeah, but dribbling involved, like
yeah, it's funny. So, but I love it. I love that he gets 2 here. Like we talked about on the first side of the episode here is just, does this kind of unlock a different side of the attack that we, can see a little bit more of stretching defenses? I think depending on what the personnel is looking like, if defenses play us higher up and Santos can run in behind to stretch them, Denke can be more of the hold-up guy. It kind of unlocks him. Like it's become a known thing that I think Denke needs a little bit more assistance than just a solo striker role. But I think it's something to look at maybe in the future for some possible transfers that are coming in. Do you look at more of a second striker because of that? Whether or not it's Santos's build or mold, like probably not.
If you're Orishano or if you're Baird and Santos and Dotto are scoring goals, Evander scoring goals,
well, hopefully only makes them want to play.
That's what I'm saying. Like you got to 100%. If these guys are, we got to get on. We got to get on there as well.
Don't say these guys and act like it's like. I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I think everyone's kind of thinking that too. But yeah, I mean, if he's playing, then like that only elevates the fact that like, all right, Dotto, you got to fight for your spots. Yeah. And that's a good point. And maybe it was a message to Orishano to say like, look, these guys are contributing. And so Orishano gets an assist in the game. But the conversation at some point has to be had of like, does he fit into this situation? I hate to say it, and I've been a huge supporter. I love his talent, but like I'm starting to come around to see like where is his fit with the guys that we have right now. and whether that's a chemistry thing or just that he, to start the season, really hasn't had it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, like
Sam,
you
we
said,
won this game and he didn't post a single thing about it on his Instagram. Like, not to say like that means something, but like Hadebe is not even playing and he's posting like, the team won 3-2 and he's pumped about it. He's putting it on his stories. And like, there's nothing from this year from Luca Orishano. Like, does that concern you?
yeah, obviously. I think, with the amount of hype that we are really coming into this season with, I mean, we had some drama in the off season. We fought to keep him, right? We fought, a Mexican club to keep him, that was offering more money. So I think it is one of those things where one of these games, Ryan, and I mean, when you get into May, right? Honestly, maybe like the crew game, right? If he plays in the crew game, that might be one of the defining games where it's like adapt or die.
Yeah. I'm not going to say this guy's just rolled over. Like his effort's there,
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. It's just the
It's
goal scoring prowess, right?
Well,
It's
and honestly, like he had a great shot in this game that Brady made a good save. Like he hits it into the bottom corner.
I don't
It's
know if
it's a
that's
good
going in.
save. I don't know. It's a decent shot on goal from
No,
outside.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's just like there's moments where we've talked about where I think he's trying to force the issue. And if you're traditionally a goal scorer or an attacking player,
It'll
and
find you.
it'll find you. But like I think he's trying to push the issue instead of letting it kind of come to him in that way. He's getting frustrated, you can tell, but like you still need to be a part of the team. Like I love to see that he was a part of the celebrations in the corner with the goals. Like I don't like guys that just kind of walk over or even go back to the halfway line because it tells by their body language. But like he's not posting anything about the team, the club. Like, is there something to that, or am I making too much of it? This is a long spinned, response based on your Sergio Santos jersey swap of the week. We kind of got into a deep dive there, but just something I wanted to bring up. But on my
Yeah. What was
side,
yours?
yeah, my jersey swap has got to be Evander this week, Sam. I mean, he gets another brace. It seemed obvious. He gets the team in the match day, but he elevated the offense. Like we hadn't had 3 goals in MLS play this year. We had the 1 goal or 4-goal game, I should say, was Champions Cup, but we hadn't had 3 goals. And so Denke kind of brought that next level to it. You could just see a little bit more confidence that he brought up there. It took a little bit off of Denke as well. We talked about, does he feel like he needs to carry the load, Denke, and having Evander there kind of takes it off of him. But I do want to give an honorable shout out to Brian Anunga. I mean, for filling in with Obi out for 3 games now, Anunga's just been there, reliable, consistent. Sometimes he's beat, but he recovers well. I've seen just so many things grow in his game, especially in relation to how he's able to play with Buka. You look at how he looked against Philly, but he didn't have Buka there next to him. And you see the relationship that those two can kind of build together. And you need to have it. You need to have one guy that can advance the ball, be more of a dynamic 8, and let Anunga be good at what he's good at. And I think, shout out to him. He's played well in these last several games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Evander being back, like we talked about, huge. Being able to just pick back up where he left off. I think, I mean, we're not surprised by it, right? It's one of those things now that like we're expecting because now he knows his role in this squad and he's only going to get better, right? It's scary to say, right? For opposing teams in the MLS, like this guy's only going to get better. I think the big narrative around the MLS, and you hear it every single game from the commentation, is FC Cincinnati isn't even at their full force yet, and they're winning these 1-goal games. That's 4 in a row for them now, right? And they're not even at full strength. They haven't even seen the best. And I mean, as far as Anunga, yeah, absolutely. The past 3 games, you have seen literally consistency. If you were somebody that didn't watch the game, didn't see the box score or anything, like, and just watch maybe like Anunga's play, you'd be like, oh, like he's fitting. Like he's a starter. He does this all the time. But yeah, I think he is fitting great. Like you said, him being able to be that force in the middle though, of just like the tackles, the precise, clearances at the right time, or passes off to Buka instead of giving it away or something. Like he's been very careful with the ball as well.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you look at years past. We've compared, backup depth to Obi. And you just see so much more confidence. Like, at least for me, I see the lineup and I'm like, man, all right, I feel good about Anunga there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
But like from a player standpoint, like we always talk about how like it's intimidating to play Obi. Is it intimidating to play Anunga too? Like it's got to be. Like a MLS type veteran player who's been around the league can dominate in the sense of like him going into hard tackles, like you said. So, yeah, I mean, it's just another guy that you have there. We had always envisioned him being like the closer of it, but he's filled in nicely when, we've needed him in the starting role. I don't think he's come out for like as a sub, right? Too in a long time.
No,
So, I
yeah.
mean, he's given us great minutes overall as well. So yeah, shout out to him. I wanted to give him his flowers too, because I think he deserves it. But on the flip side, Sam, what was your card of the week?
Yeah, my card of the week, once again, I always try and bring the silly cards, lighten the episode a little bit, but my card of the week, I had sent this to Ryan earlier this week, but it's Justin Clivert. He pulled down Ismaila Assar's pants during the Crystal Palace Bournemouth game. They drew 0-0 at Selhurst Park on Saturday, and early in the second half, there was like an interesting, thing that happened. I think Clivert was trying to hit a quick restart free kick. Uh, Sar, I'm just gonna say Sar. Sar was standing over the ball and saw Clivert just kind of fell while he was trying to take the free kick and mistakenly pulls down Sar's pants and shorts like while he's going down. But I thought the honestly, instead of just watching the clip, the photos are just funnier. Photos without no context are just funnier because it looks like Star just stands there for a little bit and looks at the ref like, "Hey, like, are you gonna do anything about this? Like, he just pulled down my pants." And
Is that a
so,
yellow card, Sam?
yes, but well, both of them ended up getting yellow cards. So for me, yes, yellow card, but also for them, yellow card. And both teams remain middle of the table, but yeah, I just thought this was hilarious.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, you don't want to be caught with your pants on the ground in any setting.
Oh, especially a viral moment like this, it's gonna last forever. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna be memed. It's everything.
Does it remind you of like, remember as a kid we used to watch the like MLB bloopers?
Oh yeah.
Like it's gotta be like the bubble that's on top of the hat, like sort of thing. Like,
Who is it? Who is it? That slid into second base and hit Brandon Phillips' butt.
oh, was it Altuve?
It might have been. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Stuff. Yeah.
funny.
Stuff like that you'll never forget.
Oh yeah. Did you have an honorable one too?
Yeah, I had an honorable one. I was going back and forth between my cards. I thought that one was a lot funnier than the other one, but I did think that Inter Miami beating the Crew in Cleveland, I thought that was interesting considering they're called the Cleveland Crew. So you'd think they'd be pretty good at home. Um, but a lot of frustration, Ryan, I saw on social media about parking, traffic, logistics, everything
Well,
in
and
Cleveland.
all of
Just
the fans that are
bad
saying like
experience.
this is the worst, crew experience
Yeah.
I've ever had.
Well, they said the atmosphere in the stadium was terrible. Like, yeah,
It's funny. I mean, and it rained for this
mhm.
game as well, so that's
And
hilarious.
even worse though, they probably should have won.
Yeah. I mean, I watched here and there because I was like, this is just ridiculous. But yeah, I think it's funny too. Like the whole narrative from the crew fans, Sam, is like, we're still undefeated at home.
All right.
It's like, technically not.
Yeah, but
This
like
could be your future
we
home.
we play at home and we're still undefeated at home. Like we can have
Yeah,
that.
right, right.
Yeah.
The real at home.
Yes.
It's pretty funny, man, and it'll keep probably growing. They'll probably
Hey, but
reference back to
they
it.
set a new record, Ryan. They set
Yeah,
a new
new
record. I mean,
record in their
crazy.
history.
Yep. And the stadium wasn't even full.
Yeah. Too many things to joke about with that one.
Yes. We could go on, right? It could
We can
be
go on.
an all-time card of the week. But
Oh yeah.
what was yours?
I had Kevin Denke gets a yellow card on his celebration for honoring a fallen FCC player. I mean, I get the rule is you can't put the jersey over your head. I get it. But read the room. Like you think the ref is going to be like yellow. Like come on, man, get a grip. And I feel like so Denny Bouanga does it. He doesn't lift his jersey over his head. What's the difference between let's talk about the rule between lifting your shirt and lifting it over your head. So it's excessive to go over your head. Is that what signifies that, Sam?
I absolutely thought this was ridiculous. Obviously, like you're watching in the moment and they don't show Denke getting a card, but it said over the broadcast, right? Like that he received a card for it. And like you said, initially you're like, read the room. Like this is something that means a lot, not only to the team, to Denke, but to MLS, right? And then you see Bouanga does it, and everybody's like, yeah, he didn't receive a yellow card. And it's like, oh, okay. So now we're playing like children. Like we're just right.
Well,
So
it's like, okay, they're following the rules. I get it. And if you let this one go, then that could mean this person could get away with this and this and this. It's like, but it's legitimately for someone who passed away. Like,
yeah,
it's like the equivalent of Apple TV including Angulo, as a substitute. Like, that's just poor.
yeah,
Like, come on. You got to check these things. But yeah, I just think it's ridiculous. I think, if anything, Sam, maybe what they could do in the future is say, like, look, this is what I'm planning on doing. I have this undershirt. I'm trying to honor, my former, I guess they weren't even teammates, but a former FCC player. Hey, is it all
well,
right if I go do
I
this?
mean, their
We're gonna
countries are
we
on the
let
same
the
side of
refs know ahead of
Africa.
time.
Yeah,
It's kind of like the unspoken. The kid tears his ACL in his senior season.
you kick
You're
it
gonna
out.
let him go and get a layup real quick. You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing like in soccer, right? Somebody has an injury, you kick it out, right? Like it's,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's absolutely deserves a card. And immediately we were texting, we're like, card. Yep, I believe I tweeted it. It was like early card of the week for us. But to kind of go into that, Bupen's passing. We have to touch on it, right? Because it's FC Cincinnati news. And it's similar to when we had to break down Angulos, right?
I mean, having
Obviously,
two guys now within a year, Sam, it's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
We hear news on Wednesday that unfortunately, he passed away. We had seen him as recent as last year and an integral part of our Supporter Shield season. So, for all the stuff that was surrounding, this or that, you could say whatever. It was a former FCC player. It's a human, and it's terrible to hear about. I can only imagine how some of the guys in the building, had to feel in seeing this. I'm sure, some of them were probably even still in touch with him. And, even some of the guys that are playing over in Africa had been playing against Bupenza and in qualifiers and stuff like that. I think, for Pat Noonan to come out and say too, like, try to think about all the good moments that happen. It's so classy, by,
yeah.
again, just a class organization, and everyone for just getting it, props to them, putting his jersey up in the starting 11 like that. And shout out, honestly, to Chicago Fire for putting up a tribute video before the game as well. So, yeah, we got that right. We got the armband right. Allow us to, formally let our players to kind of like honor him too.
Yeah, they were like too
and
far.
not to get reprimanded for that.
Yeah.
It's different if it's Obi and there's card concerns. Like, I'm not terribly concerned about Denke and that, but it's still like that's ridiculous. So, but yeah, we'll miss him, man. And looking back on the moments, now that's two guys from that Supporter Shield season. We'll always remember those guys. It's never a thing that you want to cover or talk about. But hopefully they think again about the good moments.
Yeah, I mean, now that I hate to say it, but like now that we've got like two guys, right? Like you said in the past year, is there something even more special? I know this is the 10th anniversary year. Do you do something, later on in the year to like memorialize them even more because they were, a part of FC Cincinnati history, right?
They'll always be in,
I know,
the
yeah, but
photo holding
like,
the shield. I think there's a lot to that. Do you put like a halo or something above them, like in the photo, or
Like, yeah, like a patch, like, something for
I
fans
think they
to,
might keep the armband thing going.
yeah.
That's kind of cool as well. Or even if it is like an armband with like the number 9 on it,
Hmm.
it should be number 8 and 9, honestly.
I mean, could you put like a patch like up here, like maybe somewhere,
Probably sleeve more is the
sleeve
spot,
more?
if we think about it, because I think typically like you got Kroger on one side and Apple TV, and like you can cover some of those for a little bit. Yeah,
Fair.
but it was terrible, man. Just in hearing that on Wednesday. But it sounds like the guys kind of rallied around each other.
Yeah.
And I'm glad again that we were able to pay tribute to him, and that Denny Bouanga was able to as well. I think he had been pushing pretty hard to get a goal to be able to celebrate and to show him that for his fellow countrymen. So, but as we move on, FC Cincinnati 2 played New York Red Bulls 2 just yesterday as we're recording this. So on Sunday, they earned their first win of the 2025 MLS Next Pro season. Shout out to them. They did have, I guess an extra time and then PK win that counted for 2 points. This is their first 3-point victory, a formal victory. It gave New York Red Bulls their first defeat of the year, Sam. That's kind of impressive. You get to see Sharilla, I think probably with this, first of the year. And then Brian Schaefer had a nice header, I believe, as well on a free kick. So, pretty cool to see. So you had Sharilla, you had Schaefer, and you had Mamba Dem as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome. We're still 12th in the East in Next Pro,
Better.
but
Cruising last right now, though.
the Crew are last. That is interesting.
Yeah, I think, us sitting 12th, it's all, it's fine. We get the first win, get the monkey off our back type situation.
Like points,
3 points,
consecutive
first 3
weeks,
points.
though.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, it's nice to see that start to kind of accumulate.
Yeah, and then Sharilla gets player of the match week for MLS Next Pro. So always great to see that. Him highlighted this season. Obviously, like we've talked about, FCC2 kind of gotten off to a rocky start. So maybe this propels into next week. They play against Atlanta United next week on Sunday again at home. So go check them out. But Ryan, you got something else?
Yeah, well, I was going to touch on, we talked about Sharilla, I think last week, and I wanted to bring up, like, if I had mentioned this before, I think I commented that, like, they were talking about Sharilla, at GA Cup. He actually was down there. So I think Sharilla went down for GA Cup for a little bit, actually.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because he wasn't on the bench at DC, actually. I went back and kind of looked at that. But then you see him come back. Was he on the bench for Chicago? I don't think he was.
No, that would have been
that would have been a lot.
Yeah,
going up and down and then playing that day. But yeah, it's good to see him on the score sheet. Hopefully that builds confidence for him playing minutes. Honestly, it's good to see him with the first team, training with the first team. I mean, if Santos is playing well, or Baird, or you have options, Dado. So Shrill is like a year or two away. Would you agree?
Do you think his brother kind of gave him some flack of like, hey, finally you got your FCC2 goal for this year? I already had mine. Like,
probably. Yeah, I think as a brother you have to, especially when you're in the same organization.
Well, especially when he's a striker, right, and you're a defender. You ever hear like, took you long enough.
And him as the defender has more goals, I think, than his brother.
There you
go. Pretty funny, at least this year. Sam, give us a FC Cincinnati GA Cup update, though. We wanted to follow through from last week's episode about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So GA Cup update, U16s. They win their first round matchup, their premier matchup against Sporting KC and PKs. In that second round of the premier bracket, they go on to lose the next round against Toulouse FC, which is a French League One academy. And then after that, so you get kicked out of the premier bracket, and then you'll go to either a showcase bracket or a consolation bracket. And they went to the showcase, and they actually came in second in the showcase bracket out of 25 teams. So I thought that was pretty cool, pretty impressive. And then the U18s, they lost in their first round premier matchup against Nashville. And then they also finished pretty well in the showcase, coming fourth out of 24 teams. So not a bad showing from our academy guys down at the GA Cup. Plays top 5 in showcase brackets. Can't be too upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not terrible. And they've only been building. If you guys haven't seen, go and check out Soccer Wise, another podcast that talks about the MLS. Had done an interview with Chris Albright while he's actually down at GA Cup. It's a good listen. He talks about the academy and kind of what FC Cincinnati were looking over the past couple years in trying to establish a better, well-rounded academy. You know, you saw it in Philly when Chris was there with Pat. And he talks a lot about how like they finally feel pretty confident about the guys they have, and had, I think, even quote tweeted some of the guys, like we see Ademir Chavez, I think, that's training with the first team. You see some of those guys, and really the process is at how they're looking at bringing them into the first team. I think that's always such an intriguing idea, especially when you look at the first team and how much we've been able to buy, but as Chris is saying, is like the next step is, how do we transition these academy guys into the first team, which is exactly what we've been talking about. But, is it through trainings? Is it through preseason? Is it through, all of these things? It's really cool to see your GM, I would imagine, as a U18 or U16
sitting there on the sideline
player and say, that's the first team general manager that's watching me. I'm going to ball out, or is he looking at like, hey, Toulouse has got some nice guys. Like 2 years down the line when they're looking for U22, I'm going to give this guy a call. So I think he's talking to some other, foreign teams, general managers, different things like that while he's there. But it's got to be cool. I think Albright's kid is close to joining one of the academies as well at one of the higher age groups. He was talking about them a little bit, bragging about how he's impressed. He thinks one of his sons should be called up to the U.S. like youth national teams, which Chris, he did a pretty good job himself when he was a player. So something to look out for as the Albrights come through the system there. And I think in Pat's kids too, he's got a nice left foot. I think we saw him in the open practice, if you remember. Him and Ucho's kid were playing together. So just a little snippet there I wanted to share. Go check out that interview. It's a pretty good one. If, again, you sickos out there want to go and see every little bit of FC Cincinnati. So that's a nice one to see. But we do have match day number 10. We're going to be playing Sporting Kansas City at home, back at TQL, Sam. We had 2 away matches in a row. So we're back. It should be a nice one. It's warmer out finally now. Hopefully the pitch is going to be stunning. It's another 2:30 game. It's one of the few ones we have this year in MLS. So earlier on in the day, hopefully it equates to good result. Then the rest of your Saturday, you're feeling pretty good. But Sporting KC, Sam, it's been a rocky season for them. I think they did not start off hot at all. And it really put Peter Vermees, their long-term manager, on the hot seat. I think Vermees has had his footprint all over Sporting KC. He was like legitimately Sporting KC. And they get rid of him in the middle of the season. And then, they've had this guy since early 2010, I think, or something. It was the longest tenured guy of, any Major League Soccer manager, front office person, and even almost in like global soccer too. So they've really kind of had to re-identify themselves. They've done well here recently. I think, did they end up winning against San Jose this past week? They were winning 3-2. I think they ended up winning, and I'll go back and check here.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're currently sitting in the bottom half of the table in the Western Conference. I think like maybe 12th or 13th.
They're sitting at 13th, out of 15, yep.
So, I mean, like you said, they're trying to find a new identity, and hopefully for them, they come into Cincinnati, and it's a tough task.
Yeah, they ended up winning 5-3 at San Jose, actually. So coming off of a hotter result, interim manager, some guys maybe that feel pretty good about playing with a new idea or strategy. They brought in a couple DPs. I think we're going to see Dejan Joveljic coming over from LA Galaxy. I don't think you've ever seen him play at TQL, actually. We've seen the LAFC guys, but I don't think we've seen the Galaxy guys, or former Galaxy guys, I should say. So it'll be interesting to see how we match up on defense there. If you like circle this date though, and you look at like, all right, Sam, is this another winnable one based on standings and everything? Like, I think you have to say like, you feel pretty good about it. You got to take every game serious. You're at home. You want to build on your unbeaten streak. You can't take them lightly.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think you're looking at this game and especially their last result, right? Being 5-3, they let up 3 goals. I mean, we let up 2, but one of them was a PK. So, I mean, for us, I think it's another one of those things where we need to capitalize, and maybe this is the game that we see the attack actually be able to play with each other instead of individualized. Like the two things that we have seen score us goals this year have been individualized play and then just pressure, right? High press. Those are the only two things that really
Free
have been
kicks.
like consistent, you know?
And
And free kicks. Yeah, free kicks, PKs. But I think, you could see that against a team like this that is showing you that they play a little bit more open, a little bit more free, and are willing to make mistakes because they really, in their eyes, so far this season, they're still just trying to figure it out, right? They don't really have their identity and they may not find it this year. So might as well just play as hard as you can, score as many goals as you can, right? You got to score more, more goals
Easy
than
as
the other
that.
team, right? Easy as that. But yeah, I think for them, I mean, you're coming into a fortress, right? Like TQL. Last time you play FC Cincinnati was 2023 in Leagues Cup, and you lost in PKs. So I'm sure that doesn't like matter. Obviously, they're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to hold, a grudge or whatever.
This is like a whole
But
different Sporting Kansas City team since
yes,
then.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I mean, we might even have some guys back as well, coming from injury. I mean, we're talking about, do we see Obi back? Do we see, Akubo, Hidebe? I mean, they're probably going to be out for a while,
Another
extended.
week or
But
two.
yeah, but I mean, do we see Obi come back, or is Anunga still that guy in the middle?
Well, I think a nice transition for him, if he's been out, especially with a hamstring, is having Anunga there and then Obi to close out the game.
Obi as the closer.
Yeah, like let's switch up the closer song and
Yeah,
put
yeah,
Obi in
yeah.
that role. I think that's nice though if you have that luxury. If you're up, a goal or two and you have Obi that can come back in that setting and you don't feel like you have to like rush him back. I think that's been the problem in the past and
Yeah.
you feel good about it like we talked about earlier in having a guy like Anunga there. Lineup wise, I think you'll do you see Miazga start again and just kind of build on that, or what are your thoughts? Do you just see I think you probably have to see what he feels like
I
coming out
would,
of
I would,
Chicago.
I would assume so since Hidebe isn't healthy, right? You would have to throw Miazga out there, see how he is,
Well, it's him or
after.
Flores that
Well, I
starts.
know,
Yeah.
I'd probably go with him. Probably it's probably going to be like the same lineup, right? That we saw in the back line, Hagelin on the left, if I had to guess, just in case, right? Where Matt comes out after 45, and he's being honest with Pat, talking like, hey, maybe, and then Flores might go in the next 45, but yeah, I'd see the back line being the exact same.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like, we obviously do our predictions and we take it for where we're at right in this moment. And we've seen in the last couple weeks, guys take knocks, Wednesday,
In training,
Thursday,
yeah.
and it like completely just throws off every prediction that we were talking about. But generally, if the guys that are coming out of that game feel good, like the question would be, you mentioned a guy that took a knock, Santos, coming out of
Yeah.
Chicago, is he good to go or is he going to come off the bench, or is
Because
he been able to
form
play?
wise, right, you're looking at him going, man, he's been really impactful, right? But he also took a knock. So are you willing to kind of play it similar to the past game where maybe you start him, right? And then Orishano comes in, or start Orishano, take him out, Santos in the second half. I think you can kind of like play that either way because I mean Santos's form is good.
hmm Yeah, I think like what I was really looking at with the opportunity in Chicago was let's see Denke, let's see Evander, and let's see Orishano in that top three all together for a sustained amount of time. And you saw it in the second half, but obviously not for a full length of the game. Do you give him that run out now? The fact that Santos does have
Well,
a knock.
especially against a
So
KC team that's been struggling.
yeah, on the defensive side for sure. Again, a team that's trying to find their identity, like that's a moment to pounce. And at home, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I want to hear your prediction score wise.
Yeah, my prediction's 2-0. So I think Roman clean sheet at home, continues to stay undefeated. Um, I think once again, I think every game you're like, man, I really hope Orishano gets that first goal.
We're gonna keep saying it until it finally
Yeah.
happens. Yeah, this would be a good game to have it for sure. Shout out to Rome. I think he's second in the league on clean sheets, actually,
Yep.
too, in the defense. But I'm gonna go 3-1. I think a 3-1 line. I think you might get like 2 or 3. I'm hoping 3, and then you let in 1, possibly. Just the way it's gone, it just seems like there's been this straggling goal. Their offense seems to be fairly decent, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope you get that clean sheet at home. I'd feel good about that too. But we're kind of getting from this point on past this into some harder matches, some different lineups. Every game is tough. Every game in the MLS is difficult. You're battling a lot of different things going on. But you got to take advantage of when you can your home support. And I think, again, we've done great at that this year. If we sustain that through, like the big talk has been like, I think the most amount of like wins at home consecutively was like a huge talk with like Columbus and I think with Miami too and everything. But like, why not put the narrative and say like, look at what FC's doing at
Yeah,
home at TQL.
absolutely.
I think we've had what 4 or 5 games at home now, like 3 wins and a draw. I think is what we're looking
Hmm.
at so far. So, yeah, I'd feel really good about that. And you're doing what you need to do.
You talk about the schedule coming up. We've got, KC, you've got NYCFC, which that'll be our first Sunday match or MLS match of the year,
At
right?
Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, and then after that, you got a Saturday match. Brandon Vasquez is back, and then after that, you got your first midweek, right? So 3 weeks in a row, you're not playing on the same day. So training is going to have to, differ, right,
Hmm.
week to week there, and could halt or progress some of the, injury development with some of our guys. It'll be interesting to see what Pat does to deal with that.
Yeah. First things first, let's get a dub against Sporting KC. But before we leave, Sam, let's hear the answer. I'm very curious about this.
Yeah, so once again, trivia of the week presented by Goals TV. Evander now has 7 goal contributions in 7 MLS matches, looking to get the MVP this season. I asked Ryan, how many goal contributions did Lucho Acosta have in his first 7 MLS matches of his MVP season? Ryan said 4 total. I believe he said 3 goals, 1 assist. Lucho had 2 goal contributions through
Oh,
his first 7 matches in 2023. He only had 1 goal and 1 assist.
wow. And then just turned it on, I guess, from that point
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I
Wow.
mean, you look at, if you look at Football Reference or you look at FOTMA, whatever you want to look at, it's hilarious to see just like the spreadsheet, right? Of like, oh man, he started out really slow and then it's just like numbers, like either an assist or a goal, like almost every game, and it was crazy.
I think like if you look historically at like MVPs in the league, they average like 1.5 goal contributions per game.
Yeah.
And like if you look at Evander with 2 braces already in the season, he's finding ways to score where like some other guys don't have the capability to hit the outside shot, number one, the free kick, number two. And he's not even taking PKs, and I think
You
Denge's
could
been
have,
that
yeah, you
guy
could have
for
two
that.
more.
So I think it's exciting to see like this is not even his final form, let's say. Like
As
you
I said,
mentioned
he's even
earlier.
getting better.
Yeah, he's younger, so he's going to continue to develop that relationship with Denke. I think too, you're going to see more kind of assists through Evander to Denke or even back and forth.
I mean,
Um,
his second goal was supposed to be an assist, probably.
Sam, look at this is something interesting I wanted to bring up. Yedlin had a nice shot from outside the box. Buka had an unbelievable shot that just went over.
Yeah.
You have Evander or Ashano. Is this the best FC Cincinnati team we've seen with hitting shots from outside the box?
I would say you got to see Orashano. I need to see like other people like score them,
I mean,
right?
on like just like talent, like what you would
Just
expect out of them.
like shots near target, like
Like I
shots.
feel like Buka can hit the long ball. We've seen some of that. Like you're right. You have to see it this season to say like, is this the best? You're exactly right. But like on pure like me thinking of, all right, we do have several guys that are threats. Like how
Yeah,
does that change? The midfield has to close down, or their defenders have to close down our guys, and it stretches them.
yeah, I completely agree. And then if you're pressing Evander that high as soon as he comes into your half. He's just dinking it over your head, or he's playing a through ball to dink it, and then boom, there we go. Like, we're fine. So yeah, very dangerous.
On paper, it seems so perfect, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Well, thanks again to everyone for joining us. Hopefully, we'll have 5 wins in a row when we recap the Sporting KC match that we just had previewed. Go ahead and check us out on Goals TV, like Sam mentioned. We do have a feature on there for our 10-year anniversary. We'll keep rolling out those episodes. Check us out on YouTube. Thanks again for those who listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We've had some awesome numbers, so keep it up and listening. We appreciate it. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you guys next week.